It's the E-Commerce Minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your hosts, Bart Mraz and John Suter. The E-Commerce Minute is a production of Sumo Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com. It's E-Commerce Minute episode 606.
In today's episode, LVMH scoops up Tiffany for $16.2 billion. Billion with a B. Wow. Like John says, dollars.
Iconic luxury jewelry brand Tiffany was founded in New York in 1837 and cemented itself as an authoritative figure in luxury jewels in the centuries that followed. But as times changed, the brand struggled with growth and relevancy. I think you guys can probably guess where this is going. Parisian conglomerate LVMH will acquire Tiffany for $135 per share in cash in a transaction with an equity value of 14.7 euros or 16 billion with a B dollars. LVMH notes that, quote, the acquisition of Tiffany will strengthen LVMH's position in jewelry and further increase its presence in the United States, end quote. It said it would also, quote, transform LVMH's watches and jewelry division and complement LVMH's 75 distinguished houses, end quote. The move also marks the biggest luxury brand acquisition ever and adds to the firm's existing portfolio, which includes Louis Vuitton, Sephora, Christian Dior, Fendi, Givenchy, and watchmaker Tag Heuer. So the acquisition aligns perfectly. The acquisition had been in negotiation since October when Bernard Arnault's initial offer of $120 per share was considered too low. LVMH hopes that it can bring back the sparkle to Tiffany that has dimmed in recent years. The 182-year-old American jeweler that once enjoyed iconic status thanks to its light blue branding and association with the classic movie Breakfast at Tiffany's is now struggling to entice young shoppers and adapt to changes in the spending habits of consumers. Tiffany's U.S. sales had been stagnating as China's slowing economy has weighed on spending by Chinese tourists, who make up a substantial portion of luxury spending. The strong dollar has also made Tiffany products more expensive for consumers outside the U.S. But Tiffany says that China's sales in the mainland continue to be strong. To maintain this momentum, Tiffany is either opening or upgrading its flagship stores in 3 key metropolitan areas: Beijing, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. It's also going after the Chinese online shopper. Tiffany launched a Chinese e-commerce site in August. The deal is expected to close in the middle of 2020 and is subject to customary closing conditions, of course, including approval from Tiffany shareholders and regulators. Wow. This whole luxury brand thing it's something that people like you and I kind of look at from the sidelines. Like it's just money that's just kind of makes your head spin. I don't know.
They're all just like kind of blending into one, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a lot of consolidation. It sounds like LVMH owns most of the luxury brands in the world. Like, how does that even work?
I know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Do you think that the current sort of high fashion stuff is going to go out of style? And I mean by the millennials is a really bad word, but the younger sort of generation is like changing their minds of what they're buying and how sort of writing that like fast fashion stuff, you know, they're changing how they shop and what they do to fashion, and you know, a lot more old school stuff is coming back.
All right, that's a great that is a great angle that I hadn't thought of. Brittany, let's hear your take.
All right, I'll give you the take. So basically, personally, I find haute couture, which is high fashion, to be interesting. And that's it. Like, I think it's very interesting. I respect the designers, but at this point, we're all in debt. We are literally all in debt. So it's like the idea of spending a ton of money to literally anybody from millennial down, it's just not realistic. It's like we can't even buy houses. We can't buy anything, let alone $2,400 purse, you know? So it's definitely dwindling. And I actually, when we were talking about Tiffany, when I was researching, that point actually did come up a lot. Just like shifting interests, the interest in sustainability over everything. Like if a Dior shirt is thrifted, that's how these companies will stay in business, I guess. Like just like
or stay brand relevant.
Or, yeah,
only if it's kind of, you know, passed down the line.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, not in the same sort of play, but if you look at Nike trying to do,
Yeah.
was it Nike or Adidas that just did a recycle sneaker, right?
Yeah, Adidas, I think, did that.
Adidas just did that, right? But all that is happening. So I think that the smaller brands, I think a lot more people are sort of triggered by them, not the big old school sort of brand. So we'll see what the next few years look like, but I have a feeling that, I mean, I could be wrong, that high fashion is going to, couture is going to try to battle their ground completely and stick to it. But I think that's going to change.
I think also, in my opinion, what these high fashion retailers are going to luck out in is accessories.
Yeah.
Like accessory trends are so big in high fashion because everyone wants a little taste of it, but no one can actually afford that life. So everybody buys a Gucci belt.
You can buy a $150 Gucci belt or a $400 purse, but you're not going to buy the $1,000 dress to sell. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's how it like stays in the minds of young consumers.
Okay, so that is great points you guys made there, and I'll just take the other side of it. 1% still going to be rich, so there is a percentage of people that will still buy all this stuff, and also we still have to take into consideration the Chinese consumer, which will probably boost the bottom lines of these luxury brands for a few years to come, unless the Chinese economy bottoms out, and then we'll be talking, basically apples to apples, where it's the same, Chinese consumer suddenly becomes very thrift minded. You have to realize that the Chinese economy and what they've gone through in the last 20 years, a lot of this stuff is still new, and it's like new money, new fashion, new. I think that's going to, fade out a little bit. But like I said, 1% still going to have all the money. And I think the Asian market and the European market will still boost the bottom lines of these luxury brands for some time to come. I mean, I haven't been to Dubai recently, but I think there's a lot of people that's got a lot of money. At least that's what I heard.
I also kind of want to make another point that I do think we're talking about all these luxury retailers, but I do think Tiffany's out of all of them is different because the iconicness and classicness of Tiffany, to me, like outweighs like the iconicness of like Chanel, for example. Like people like me still kind of do want a Tiffany engagement ring. I just do. I want that blue box. Like, I don't know why, because I'm not interested in really anything else high fashion. And I don't know if I'm just speaking for myself, but Tiffany in particular really has that hold on like the fantasy. It's
okay,
really
so
the
brand still holds cachet, because I was kind of looking at it the other way, because again, I don't know anything about jewelry. I know about branding, but sometimes these brands, we've mentioned in other podcasts, where they become, what did we say about we were talking about Champion and Adidas and Nike. It's like everything goes through cycles, and it sounded to me like Tiffany was going through a cycle where it's like, it's old, it's cliche, it's dusty, it's what your grandmother would wear. But what you're saying is still that cachet of the blue box still holds true.
Yeah, truly, because like even in like newer movies, like the girl still wants that blue box, and I don't think that's like super out of touch, because it's been so ingrained in us that like that is like the like top tier of an engagement ring that you can have. And so I still kind of like look at my boyfriend and I'm like, can you do it?
He's like, where can I go buy a blue box?
Yeah, true.
Pretty
like,
much.
Honestly,
that's all you care about.
Truly.
Is the blue box with a white ribbon. That's all you. Because he could put anything in it.
The T is I wouldn't know the difference.
Brittany,
correct.
Brittany, just remember, every kiss begins with K.
Oh my God. He went to Jared.
I hate Steven Singer.
Yeah.
Bart went to Steven Singer.
I hate Steven Singer.
I don't know how that guy can still use that tagline. I hate Steven Singer, but it seems to work.
I know.
I hate StevenSingers.com.
It makes me actually hate it.
No, it's good.
I'm right with you, Brittany. I'm like,
whenever I see a sign, I hiss at it.
Although he had, John, did you see on 95 they had the I hate Steven Singer, and it was like by Tiffany.
Oh,
it was a Tiffany that color.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He was playing that one.
All right, Brittany, why don't you tell us about our sponsor?
So Sumo Heavy publishes a weekly newsletter for those of you who didn't know. It's filled with our latest blog posts, e-commerce news, tips, as well as e-commerce events and job listings, which is pretty cool. We've also got a great feature called Our Latest Obsession, which is our one favorite thing we found on the internet that week. Sometimes it can get a little crazy. Each jam-packed email drops bright and early at 8 a.m. every single Friday morning, so don't get left out. Go right now to bit.ly/Sumo Heavy Newsletter. Once you're there, you can subscribe, and you can also read all of our past issues too. So go right now to bit.ly/Sumo Heavy Newsletter. We also do some pretty cool opinion pieces on Medium. I actually author a lot of them. My latest one is The High Cost of Fast Fashion, and I'm really proud of it. So go check that out too.
Check that out. That's a great article. What was that, like 17,000 words on fast fashion? I mean, you're pretty, you had definitely some opinions there. So go check that out. That's on Medium. But also go check out our newsletter, bit.ly/Sumo Heavy Newsletter. Subscribe, check out the old episodes. Go check it out. And we'll close up a little stat time. Tiffany had sales of $4.4 billion in 2018, an increase of nearly 7% over 2017, according to AP News. On the day of the deal, Tiffany stock closed up more than 6% in New York, while LVMH rose 2% in Paris, also courtesy of AP News. Overall, U.S. luxury sales, excluding jewelry, have fallen 2.7% so far this year, compared to a 3.1% increase in overall retail sales, according to MasterCard Spending Pulse, which tracks sales across all types of payments, including cash and checks. Also courtesy of AP News. And finally, jewelry sales, however, have risen 2.6% so far this year. Either a lot of people are getting married or a lot of people did some bad things. And
Lots of people did some bad things.
Lots of people did some bad things. Well, there's only two reasons you buy jewelry, because you did a bad thing or you're getting married. That's true. Sometimes the two are there's a blur between the two. So, depends on your opinion. You can tell I'm not married. All right, you guys got anything else?
Nope.
All right, that's your e-commerce minute for today. We'll see you on the internet tomorrow. That's it for today's show. If you like the show, do us a favor and subscribe or leave us a review on iTunes. And don't forget, you can now listen to the e-commerce minute on your Amazon device. Just add e-commerce minute to your flash briefing. And finally, if you have a comment or suggestion or just want to say hi, find us on social media @Sumo Heavy.